Hi everybody, we are going to get started on our next unit here. Our next unit is called Forces in Motion, and we're going to start off by talking a little bit about Galileo, and he lived in the late 1500s, early 1600s, and he actually went against something Aristotle said. Have you heard of Aristotle? I hope so. Aristotle was an ancient philosopher before, we're talking many years BC, and this is obviously 1600 years after BC. So this is just going to be a few slides. It won't, whoa, go back. Okay, so hang with me here. Aristotle said that objects with greater mass will fall faster. We demonstrated this when we did our Zoom on Wednesday. A lot of you thought the marker would hit the ground first. So his theory here was actually proven wrong. Galileo said, that's not true. He said all objects fall at the same rate regardless of mass. The same rate meaning the same speed. So in theory, a little cannonball and a big cannonball should both hit the ground at the same time. So the story goes that he climbed up to the Leaning Tower of Pisa, which is in Italy, and to prove this to the crowds, he dropped these two cannonballs off of the very top floor, and lo and behold, the people on the ground were amazed that even though they had very different masses, they hit the ground at the same time. I tried to show this in the Zoom on Wednesday by dropping a crumpled piece of paper along with a marker, and yes, they did a hit at the same time. As long as you are dropping them from the same height. Once you change the height, that's a different scenario. Another little interesting fun fact is that Apollo 15 astronaut David Scott recreated this experiment on the moon. He dropped both a hammer and a feather on the moon where there's very little gravity, and guess what? And very little air resistance, of course. They both hit the moon at the same time. So proving this both here on Earth and on the moon, pretty cool scenario there. However, you notice that if you drop a piece of paper when it's very broad, a piece of paper definitely could get caught by the air, and I think we talked about this too. It can be affected by air resistance. Air resistance does affect how fast something can fall, but it also depends on the size and shape of that object. So forgive me, I learned how to put a GIF into a PowerPoint or a Google Slides presentation. So we have our cartoon Wile E. Coyote over here. A broad, wide sheet like a piece of paper or like the parachute will definitely slow down the rate at which someone or something is falling. But if you crumple that up, is that going to be of any use to him? No, it will not. Just like this guy, he's trying to make the biggest splash. He's trying to fall faster so he can splash his friend. So he's crunching up into a ball. Also, that's going to prevent him from, belly flopping or anything like that. But air resistance on an object is simply fluid friction. So it does slow things down. Okay, moving on. Speaking of falling objects, there's always some crazy people out there who do want to go parachuting. I am not one of those people. And I've actually heard people say, I would love to be in free fall. Well, I hate to break it to you. You're not in free fall in this scenario because you can actually see evidence of it, there is air resistance acting on this skydiver. So, and so free fall, which is actually on the next slide, free fall does not happen unless the only force acting on an object is gravity. So, let's back up a little bit. As objects fall, they do gain speed. So this requires a little bit of brain power here. However, they do reach a point at which you cannot fall any faster. So if you were to jump off of a diving board or jump out of a plane like this fella here, the first second that you fall, you are falling at a certain speed. Okay, and that speed is 9.8 meters per second. The second that you're falling, you gain 9.8 meters per second of speed. So after 2 seconds, you're falling at a rate of whatever 9.8 times 2 is. I think it's 19.6 meters per second. So the longer that you're falling through the air, the faster you're falling. However, you will reach a point where you can't fall any faster, and that point is terminal velocity. This happens when the upward force of air resistance matches the size of the downward force of gravity. So at that point, you simply stop speeding up. You're still falling at a very high rate of speed, but your terminal velocity is just the highest speed that you can fall. Free fall, here we are. This can only occur in a vacuum. So yes, these astronauts, these apples and these whatever fruits these are, they are in free fall because there's no air resistance acting on them. So free fall can only occur in a vacuum. The moon itself is actually in free fall toward the Earth. The only force acting on it is gravity, and then its own forward momentum. If you click here, this is just an article about astronauts. This is not required, but you'll see this picture. You can read a little bit about what they go through up there. Okay, so the role in gravity in orbits and projectiles. So we have our Earth, we have our moon. There are two forces that create this orbit. An orbit is a fancy word for a circular path, okay, around another object, okay? So the moon's orbit around Earth is created by two forces. Number one, the biggest one is the pull of Earth's gravity. So it's constantly pulling the moon down towards it. However, the moon is a pretty significant distance away. It does have its own amount of mass, so it does have its own inertia. Its own force is pulling it that way. So the combining of the forward motion, the inertia, and the downward pull of gravity, that's what creates that orbit around the Earth. It's the same thing if you think about the Earth going around the sun. Okay, same two forces. It's just that this is a little bit easier, a little smaller to think about. Projectiles, how many of you have ever thrown an object? Most of you. If you're in any sport at all, you have probably thrown something at some point in your lifetime. So projectile motion is very similar, and it is determined also by the inertia of the object whenever it's launched. So once this arrow is released, or once that ball is released, the only two forces acting on the object are whatever force was applied to the ball, so its own inertia, and then gravity. And this picture shows why if you're trying to aim for a target, okay, you should always aim above. Because if you try to aim straight at something, okay, gravity will take over and pull it towards the ground. So think about that if you are a hunter or a marksman, or you're trying to throw a ball, anything. You may click here to read more about that. Now that is the textbook. Okay, you don't have to do all the questions associated with it, but it will give you a better idea. Okay, and that's it for section 1. I'm sorry this is a little longer than I intended, but I hope it clears some things up. Please write these down as notes in your notebook, and have a lovely day.